Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we are still very happy after our opening day victory against Mallorca, although I would just say not everybody is that happy, and there are a few reasons for that here. We're going to be talking about Hansi Flick's words in full after the game against Mallorca yesterday. We're also going to be running through today the whole registration situation. We're going to be making sense of that Trincao deal that went through right before this weekend's game, plus as well, what is happening with Ansu Fati at Monaco, as he's yet to appear for a single minute in Monaco colours so far. All of that is on the way, lots to talk about, so get yourselves comfortable, and let's do this. But we do have to begin right here today, guys, with some amazing, honestly fantastic super thanks shout-outs, really. It was really incredible, the support heading into the brand new season. Big thank you indeed to Yusuf, and also to his wife as well. Hello to you. Thank you to Mike, and thank you very much to Oscar, and for all of you right here tuning in to today's video, because I know the season is underway again. I know there's lots of games out there going on from all of the top leagues in the world, so I thank you here though for still taking the time out to tune in to the videos. It means a lot to me, and let's start really with what Barca did against Mallorca yesterday, because can I just say first of all, I thought the way we started the game, the way that we came out of the blocks, I thought it was really encouraging. I thought it was actually a very good start. You're going away to Mallorca, it's a tough first game of the season, you're coming off the back here of a pre-season that maybe didn't test us all that much. But I thought we were brilliant. In those opening sort of 20 minutes or so, we got ourselves into the lead, then we backed it up as well with another goal too. We were causing Mallorca all sorts of problems. And then what basically happened is that Mallorca, they hit the self-destruct button. I mean, that's what they did. They got 2 players sent off over the course of a few minutes of play. And then it wasn't just about them that suffered, really. It was the match, it was the spectacle of the whole game. Everything in that moment, when they got the 2 players sent off, it just drained out of the game. And what we saw then in the second half was actually quite sluggish from both teams. And in particular there, Mallorca, they sat a lot deeper. The spaces really did disappear. There was no room to operate in for Barca. And I think from Barca's point of view, there was no real urgency. They had a 2-0 lead. They had a match here in searing temperatures. And ultimately they just thought, well, we'll take that, I guess. That's pretty much fine for us. However, that was their big mistake, because what may have been fine for some of those Barca players, what may have been fine indeed to wrap up the 3 points with a 3-0 victory, it was not fine for their coach. And that is the really significant thing, and I think that's really important here. Yet again this season, Flick is setting standards. Flick is the man who is orchestrating this team, and ultimately telling them, this is not acceptable, because I thought it was incredible to see the Hansi Flick there. He spoke in his press conference. He also spoke there to the club's official channels, and every single interview that Flick did after the game, he was genuinely furious. He was absolutely angry, frustrated with what he saw from his team, especially in that second half. Let's run through some of his words right here, because he said, I was really happy with the first minutes that we played. We scored the goal early on. It was all very good. But he said, with just how we finished here in the second half, the way that we played, I am not happy. He was so unhappy and disappointed with what Barca showed in the second half. He said, I didn't like it. He said, these are 3 important points, but I didn't like the game. He said, after you go 2-0 up and then there's 2 red cards, the team played 50% of what they could do. He said, I have to talk to them about that, because I didn't like it. And again, it's the fact here that Flick is walking away from a 3-0 win, away in a difficult place to go, and he's not satisfied. He is not going to just allow these players to relax and think, okay, we're going to take this easy, we've got this, we know what we did last season. There's going to be no complacency. Flick is not going to allow that kind of attitude. And again, he said, you can say that we controlled the game, you can say that it was a bit easy for us, but we have to score more. We should have scored more. And here's what I can say. We can't play at 50 or 60% against 9 players. And that's just Flick's attitude there. He wants to see urgency. He wants to see intensity right throughout the game. It's not just about 1 minute. It's not just about there the first half. It's not just about until you take the lead. He wants to see a consistent level of intensity and from every player. And he wants to see more goals. That is what Flick demands of his players. And I like this. I like the fact here that, again, we're kicking off the new season. We've won easily. We've won comfortably. But it's not enough. Flick is going to demand more. Flick is raising those standards, and he's let every player know here, look guys, The season's back underway. You've got to give me more. Now, of course, there was some controversy, I mean, if you want to put it that way, with regards to Barca's second goal of the game against Mallorca there. It was an absolutely incredible finish. We will not stop saying that from Ferran Torres. It was an absolute peach there into the top left-hand corner. But, of course, there have been plenty of tears from the Madrid side of things. As you might expect, the season is underway and the tears are out in full flow. But on Flick's side, he said, yeah, you know, if I was on the other side of Ferran's goal, maybe I would be a bit disappointed, a bit frustrated too. But he said, I always tell my players to play until the whistle. He said the referee didn't stop the game, so play must continue. I understand Mallorca's frustration, but you've got to play to the whistle. And look, guys, I think we can all understand that. Yeah, of course, we here want that goal to stand, but that's what you're taught. Ever since you play the game as a kid, you play to the whistle. Doesn't matter there if the referee's putting it to his mouth, doesn't matter what he's doing, really. If he hasn't blown it, the game goes on. You have to stay alert. You have to stay concentrated. And that header away, you know, it wasn't an injury situation. It was a header. It was a clearance. And Ferran made absolutely no mistake. Now, in my opinion, one of the very, very bright aspects from this game, it would have to be the performance of Joan Garcia in goal. And I've got to be honest, I'm just so excited. I have been ever since he signed, ever since I saw him in pre-season. And now starting this season in this way, it's really, really encouraging. Of course, yesterday he got a clean sheet, made some big saves, made some important saves there, held on to saves when he needed to as well. But I've also been so impressed as well with his distribution. You know, not only is he a great shot stopper, he claims crosses so well, he's got real stature, real prominence in that box, but he's a quick thinker too. You know, we've seen him on several occasions here pick up the ball, you know, win it back, and then he's looking for that movement. He's looking for a runner, and he can pick players out, and it's been really, really encouraging to see the performances of Joan Garcia and just how well he's settling in early on here in his Barca career. And Hansi Flick did say Joan Garcia was very, very good in yesterday's game, but he said we're also very, very happy with Jofre. He came on, he showed that he's on this level, and he did actually say there, for people like Jofre, for people like Marcus Rashford coming on, it wasn't easy for them because of the way that Mallorca then was playing so deep, you know, that the spaces really did dry up. And that's something that I would say that people are looking at Rashford's performance. Of course, I'd imagine before this game, a lot of uncertainty in his mind, guys. I know that, of course, we ended up registering him, but we can't really think here that doesn't affect you. You know, in your build-up, in your preparation for a game, he didn't know for most of the week if he would even be playing. Maybe that was why he didn't start, because to be honest, there would have been a lot more joy for him in that first half, because there was space in behind. There were real opportunities to make those runs and actually get in behind Mallorca, so he would have been a lot more suited to that situation. When he came on, they were very, very deep. There was no space to operate him, and certainly there will be more suited situations for Marcus Rashford in a Barcelona shirt. But well, whilst we are on that topic of Marcus Rashford, on Joan Garcia, well, how exactly did Barca in the end there, right before the game, on the morning of the match, how did they get them successfully registered? And also, with several players still not registered, the likes of Rooney Bardghji, Gerard Martin, Szczesny, what is the situation right now? What is happening with regards to registrations? Because, well, let's go back to what happened on Friday night. And this was an announcement here that came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting it in the media. Nobody saw it coming, because Barca just published a very brief statement, an official statement there that said, we have reached an agreement with Sporting over the sale of the 50% rights that the club have on Francisco Trincao, with it then being reported that Barca sold 50% of those rights, the last rights that we had of Trincao's, for 11 million euros. Now that is very interesting, because already I would say here that from Barca's point of view, the fact that they have left this so late, the fact that they did leave it until Friday night, that looks to me like it was a bit of a last resort option. Because do not forget, guys, initially, with regards to Trincao and Sporting, we sold him for 10 million euros, which was already a little bit on the cheap side. Now, Barca did retain 50% though of his rights, so that would mean there that we would be entitled to half of any future transfer fee. And that was massive, because do not forget here, Trincao, since returning to Portugal with Sporting, he's actually picked up his form quite significantly. He is a player right now who's performing at a very, very high level, And that was looking like a really exciting clause to have. 50% of any future sale. And it does seem to me like this summer, Barca were hoping, Barca were absolutely praying that Trincao would be sold. They were looking at that 50% option and they were thinking, oh, that's going to be good. If they sell him for big money, we are going to have a significant windfall. However, though, Sporting didn't want that. Now, it was interesting that this summer, they were absolutely desperate to keep hold of Trincao. And you do wonder now if one of the big reasons as to why they wanted to keep him on was because they knew that Barca would be entitled to 50% of any transfer fee. So I think from Sporting's point of view now, what they've done, they've held on to Trincao, they've kept him there as a player they want in their team anyway, but they've now been able to take advantage of Barca's desperation. It's again this same situation whereby everybody knows that we need money. Everybody knows that we need it now for registrations. They know the situation that we're in. And what a club's going to do then? You know their first thought is going to be, let's pounce on that. Let's jump on that desperation, on that panic from Barcelona. And Sporting have basically thought here, in these final hours before our first game, well, could we get the rest of his rights there? Could we buy that 50% option for 11 million euros? And Barca, because of the short-term situation we're in, because of that mindset that we have, of course we jumped at the offer. We have jumped at the chance there to have money coming in. And let's not deny, it was vital for us in terms there of registering Rashford, in terms of getting Joan Garcia and maybe other players now over the line. It's important money, but let's also not deny we've undersold again, because would you be at all surprised if maybe Trincao continues to perform well, if he does well again this season, next summer, he's only 25 right now, is Sporting were to sell him for, say, 50, 60 million euros. You know the kind of money that's going around right now. You know the kind of money that Portuguese clubs sell for as well. You wouldn't be surprised if further down the line that Barca, instead of getting 11 million, they could have got 20, they could have got 30, they could have got 35. You just don't know really what could have happened further down the line. So I think we have undersold here, but it's because of that desperation. It's because of our situation, and in the end, we have banked 21 million euros in total here from the sale of Trincao, and that means that we have taken a 10 million euro loss on the 31 million euros we signed him for from Braga in 2020. But this is the thing right now though, guys. Okay, you think about it. You've got 11 million euros there coming in straight away from Sporting for Trincao. So you've banked 11 million. On top of that, recently, we've had the exit of Inigo Martinez, which we know didn't bring in any transfer fee, unfortunately, but it did remove up to 14 million euros in terms of wages at the club. You've also had very recently, don't forget, that also happened over the weekend, Jules Koundé has now renewed his contract at the club. That is fantastic news there. He's renewed long term. He's been so good in negotiations, and that also helps, don't forget, with FFP in terms of amortization. But that's the thing, because even despite all of these recent moves, even despite what we're seeing happen before our eyes here in the last few days from Barca, there's still no talk about returning to the one-for-one rule. Now, we have heard over and over and over again, we were just a few million away. It was just the case of a few million between us and returning to the all-important one-for-one, and it was apparently 7 million. You know, what has happened with that? Where is the one-for-one rule? What is going on with it right now? And I think everybody at Barca, they're scratching their heads. You know, us as fans right here, we're waiting for that to happen, and things keep happening. We keep doing deals. We keep selling different parts here and there. When is it going to happen? When are we going to be able to return to that? Because we've got money coming in. We've got these millions in savings. We've got all this kind of stuff happening. And yet, we don't quite seem to be there. So stay tuned on that. But if we do cross over right now to another real point of interest at Barcelona, because we need to talk about the Ansu Fati situation right now. Because, well, he hasn't played a single minute yet for Monaco. And I mean that in terms of he hasn't played any pre-season matches. That was 7 games right there, wasn't involved in any of those. Monaco also opened their league campaign at the weekend, and Ansu still nowhere to be seen. He wasn't in the squad. He is not currently available for selection for Monaco. Now, from what we are hearing right now, I think that's why it's important to sort of talk about this, because a lot of people are panicking. They're thinking, where on earth is Ansu? What has happened now? Why isn't he playing football? What was the point of this loan move? Well, apparently at Monaco, what they're looking to do is have him on a personalised training plan. Now, we've heard this before with regard to Ansu, but apparently over the past few weeks, they've been working with him one-on-one, and the club feel as though he's not quite at the same level physically as the other players in the group, and that is why they're being extra cautious with him. They want to build him up, they want to get him ready, and they want to make it so that when he does play, there is less chance of an injury setback. And it seems like quite a similar approach to what they're taking as well with Paul Pogba. He, of course, is coming off a big layoff in terms of playing matches, so right now, both Pogba and Ansu Fati are yet to make their Monaco debuts. Now, right now we're hearing it might be possible that Ansu appears after the first international break of the season there, so maybe in mid-September he might be able to make his debut. And can I just say, and the reason why I'm talking about all of this, guys, is we need to keep an eye on this situation. And the reason for that is because it is in everybody's best interest here that Ansu starts playing, that Ansu does play regular football, and hopefully good football, at Monaco this season. Because, of course, for him, it's massive. There's no denying that here. You know, he's had other moves away from Barca, he's had difficult seasons over the past few years, and right now this feels like a really decisive season in his career. And then you've got Barca. They need this to work out too, because you cannot forget, speaking here about registration, speaking here about fair play, about salary caps, Ansu Fati has a huge contract at Barca. He is earning big money, and right here, a failed loan, nobody wants that. Absolutely nobody would benefit from that. It would be a nightmare for the club if Ansu cannot get it together, if he cannot get going and get playing some minutes here at Monaco. So we wish him all the best. Hopefully he will be in line to make his debut after the first international break, and hopefully then we can see something and he can get his career back on track. So indeed, guys, we have ended up covering a lot of different topics in today's video, a real range here on the Barca front, so please let me know what you thought of our performance against Mallorca. You know, were you as angry as Hansi was? Do you feel as though his reaction was warranted there in terms of his words after the game? Please also let me know your thoughts on the Trincao deal. Have we undersold? Was it a deal really that we needed to do, but still not really ideal? And let me know as well your thoughts on Ansu Fati and his situation right now at Monaco. What are your hopes for him in the coming season? I will see all of you very soon indeed. Thank you for the great support, and thank you for a fantastic opening weekend here. Barca are back, and they are back with a win. But until next time, guys, as always, Veshka, El Barca.